What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to OdinReactz. Now I've got an extra special guest here for you today. He is one of my favourite artists in the whole wide world. His name is Krino. Do you want to introduce yourself, my friend?
How you doing? It's your big brother KRINO. Glad to be here on your platform, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. Shout out to everybody in the UK.
Thank you. Now, you guys wouldn't have seen this, but the computer's just completely crashed on us, and it luckily we weren't starting the questions. We weren't halfway through, so it started at the beginning. But yes, I'm going to get straight into the questions. I've got so many questions to ask you, and I know that we've only got a short amount of time to get them in. So, first question is, what started you making music? So, what was your kind of drive to say, do you know what? I'm going to start rapping. I'm going to start making music.
Yeah, man, I grew up just listening to all of the old school R&B artists, the Al Greens, the Teddy Pendergrass, Stevie Wonder. I grew up with all that in my household and around me. So I just fell in love with music. But when hip hop originated, um, and came to our region probably in the late 70s into the early 80s. That was this brand new genre of music that everybody fell in love with. Some of us just listened to it and enjoyed it. Others of us listened to it and enjoyed it and then tried to do it. So I was one of the ones who tried to do it. And when I started, I never looked back. So that's what got me hooked on it. I was listening to Curtis Blow and Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel and Run
Yeah,
DMC and
yeah.
all of those Sugar Hill Gang and all of those artists inspired me to want to jump in and be a part of it.
I know from being a big fan of yours how many albums you've actually made. I don't know the exact number, but I know you've made so many. But please tell the audience. I mean, when did you release your first album, and what year was that released?
My first single, it wasn't a full album, my first single dropped in 1987. We
Wow.
started working on it in like 86. I was still in high school. I was still a teenager. And we actually put the record out in 87. I was with a group called Real Chill. And it was a big deal because at that time, it wasn't many artists in Houston that had put out records, that had released anything, especially in rap. So it was a big deal at the time, and we just put out some vinyl. Didn't really know what we was doing. Didn't really know how to market it and push it, but the people were really like excited. The fact that, hey man, these dudes right here from our neighborhood put this record out. So '87 was my start. I didn't go solo until like the early '90s, and I put my first solo out in '93 when I started my own label, Stories from the Black Book, with me and my dad.
That's amazing. That's just yeah, it's mind blowing to hear that you've been in the rap game so long and still making music because I noticed that one of your recent music videos that I watched was it's something along the lines of "Stole My Bike." I love that song. It really made me. It was funny. It was comedic, and it made me laugh. And "Stole My Bike," and I love that song. But what I like about your music in particular is, and I was saying this before the camera cut off and the PC cut off, was that I can relate to your music personally on multiple different levels because you don't just speak about one topic in your music, you speak about several different topics: addiction, mental health, governments, institutions, life, family, kids, everything. And so when I listen to your music, I don't necessarily go, "This is a song I want to listen to." I just go on YouTube and type Krino, and there's a bunch of songs that come up, and I'm like, right, I'm in the mood for this one or this one. And like I said before, your music has helped me when I was a kid, helped me, when I was younger, to understand a lot of things. Some of your songs have brought a tear to my eye, like Obstacles. That song, poof, that hit me straight in the heart. Value Decision is a really powerful song as well. And but then we can go from Obstacles and Valley of Decision to songs like Annihilation of the Evil Machine, which is that one blew my head out the water, and Duality and Perpetual Ascension. You know, that song is really, and I love the kind of story based type songs that you write as well. You know, when you're talking about the Sorcerer's Den, and so your music's got a lot to offer, I think, to your audience and people around the world as well, because you're not just plugging in for one thing. And usually with artists, they kind of go with one thing and stick with it. And that's what I like about your music, is it brings multiple kind of people, I think, multiple kind of, you know, ideas to how rap music is still, and how it should be, you know. Um, so one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, what was your, and I wouldn't like to say your favorite collaboration, but is there a handful of people that you worked with that you really enjoyed working with musically? So it could be an artist, or maybe a group of artists that you worked with that you kind of learned some things from, whether that's musically or in your life. Is there somebody or a group that kind of stick out in your mind right now?
Well, yeah, absolutely. Let me address the first part you spoke on first in terms of trying to make songs that can relate to all parts of life. Um, we live in a world where we just walking around, we see a little bit of everything. We
Yeah,
just we see this, we see mental health, we see physical sickness, we see drug abuse, we see happiness, sadness, all the different ranges of emotions. So as an artist, you are actually neglecting a whole plethora of concepts when you only speak on one or two things.
yeah,
I tried to be the guy that made sure I talk about everything. That's what I do. I want to talk about everything. I want to have a song that every person can relate to. If somebody is um, going through something, I want a person who listens to my music to tell that other person, hey, well, man, I got a song you need to listen to that
yeah.
connects to your situation, and that's important to me. But as far as my influences, man, there's so many, and it's not just in rap. You know, like I said,
Mm,
Stevie Wonder is probably
yeah,
one of, if not my biggest influence. Prince,
yeah,
Sam Cooke, people like that. KRS-One, Run
yes,
DMC, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, all these different artists that I grew up listening to that helped to shape and mold my style. They've been big influences to me. And I tried to take that and be the same for somebody else coming up under me, because we have to pass on those seeds. We have to plant those seeds in other people and pass them on and regenerate them. So it's been a blessing for me.
I love how you talk about what music is to you, and how people have influenced you and what it's given you, but you're not talking about like yourself. You're talking about how you can help others. I love that altruistic way of looking at life, and that's why I like your music, because personally, um, of course, you remember Krino. Is it the Mirror? The Mirror,
Which
the one where he's running away from himself, and then he faces him at the end, and he snatches his mask off, and it's him. It's
Oh yeah,
yourself.
the man in the mask. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
right,
That
right.
one, I was like, poof, that sent shivers from that sent shivers all the way through me, and I'm like, damn, there's some things I got to work on. Even from a young age, it was there. So for me, it's your music. I know helps people, and would you say that that was your primary goal in making music, is to help people?
Well, it evolved into that.
Yeah,
I got a lot of songs like Man in the Mask that are really songs that are introspective. They're really songs where I'm speaking to myself, or I'm holding a mirror up in front of
yeah,
myself to, like, the audience will listen to it and say, okay, I'm relating to this, but they may not know that, hey, when I write these things, a lot of these times I'm directly speaking to my own reality as well, and focusing on my flaws and my internal mess ups that I have.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it. But people, all of our struggles are similar, even if they're not exactly alike. A lot of our struggles, we've been through the same things, just on different levels. So it's fun to be able to transfer something from your heart and your mind to somebody else's and make them snap into it. So I love doing that. I love going into my own mind, and I love opening up parts of myself to people who might not have had the courage to do it in their own world. And it gives people the courage and the strength to say, well, man, if he can talk about this part of his life, or we can talk about this, it should give me the courage to express it too. And that's a therapeutic method of going through life, because we tend to bottle stuff up. For me, music was a way to get a lot of that out, but everybody doesn't do music. Everybody doesn't rap. So people got to find other ways that's effective for them to have that outlet to release some of that tension, and release some of that stress, and to get some of that um, pressure off their mind based on the things that they're dealing with. So if my words can help a person do that, cool. But in the beginning, I was just rapping, just to be having fun, just to try to prove I was the best MC or whatever the case. So I had to grow into that thought process, but that comes with maturity, that comes with adulthood, and just it comes with experience of going through life situations. Now it's like, what had I went through when I was 15 years old, 16 years old? I hadn't went through anything, so I couldn't talk about these things back then
Mm.
compared to the life I live now. Now I can speak on a bunch of stuff.
What was the best experience you've had since making music? So it could be it could be anything to do with music. Maybe it's somebody who's approached you and said, "You've helped me during this time," or "This has happened," or maybe they tell you a story, or maybe it's a personal thing. Maybe it's a personal achievement, whether it's you've grown from it, or maybe it's a material thing. I don't know. What would you say is your biggest success from music, your biggest achievement?
Well, you said it. It's the people.
Yeah,
When the people come up to you and tell you the effect that your songs have had on them, and when they tell you about a song that had a life-changing effect on them, those are the biggest achievements and the biggest rewards, because we in the people business,
yeah,
whether we want to be in it or not. And I'm not just talking about artists, I'm just talking about us in general.
yeah,
Everybody that's walking around on the planet has to, whether they want to or not, interact with other people. And our interactions with those people determine how we are viewed and remembered by those people. So if they have a bad interaction with me, they're going to remember that. If they have a good interaction with me, they're going to remember that. But at the end of the day, the goal is to try to be a reflective light on everybody that you come across. You want people to walk away saying, okay, yeah, that dude, he all right. So yeah, the people are the awards. It's not about, I
yeah,
got a lot of awards. I received a lot of plaques and awards and certificates and trophies. I got all that stuff. But the biggest reward are those words that come out of people's mouth to say, hey man, this helped me, this saved my life, this did that, this helped me decide what career path I was gonna take. All these different things that I've been blessed to hear over the years, it makes you um, take into account the importance of the words that you write down and that you say. And you try not to waste words and be damaging
mm.
towards people. You don't want to do that.
Well, I mean, it's through listening to your music, I knew that this was going to be your answer. I just
Mm.
knew it because, um, like I say, it's not just a song that you switch on and it's like, oh, it's got a good beat and he's got a good flow, and this is a catchy. It's You can connect with the music, and I feel that if you can connect with an artist, um, in whatever way, that way, through the heart, through the soul, and you know, really connect with what they are saying within their music, he or she, then I feel that um, that means everything, because then, music is a therapy for a lot of people. I don't know about yourself, but it is a therapy, and it's something that people look to, as a kind of a guide sometimes, to get them through certain feelings, emotions, through certain struggles in life. We can put songs on, and again, it's that kind of go-to way of, ah, now I remember what I need to do here, because, and that's what I've kind of found within music, is that that's the best type, not the one that's selling millions of records, and they got. And don't get me wrong, there's some amazing artists out there that have sold millions of records, but I think it doesn't matter how big or small the artist, if you can do that, you've got talent, you've got something, you've got something there, which is magical. So, which brings me on to my next question, and I know this is probably hard because I know you've made so many different albums, so many different songs. If you had to pick one album, which was your favorite project, which one would you pick and why?
Well, I'm still trying to outdo
Yeah,
the Annihilation of the Evil Machine album. I'm still trying to
yeah,
beat that one because that's
oh,
the one that anytime they ask me that question, I that's the answer I give.
yeah,
But I've been working on trying to outdo that one for a while now. The album came out in 2010, so it's over a decade old. And but the reason why is because I feel like I touched on pretty much everything. I think that's one of the albums that has something for everybody on it. In when people say if a new person wanted to hear me for the first time, they wanted to hear KRINO for the first time, which album should I let them hear? It would be that one. That would be the one that I would want people to introduce others to me through. So the goal now is to outdo that one and come up with something better. But until that time, Annihilation of Evil Machine still got the #1 spot.
oh, that album was amazing, and like I said to you early on in talking to you, one of my favorite songs is Annihilation of the Evil Machine. And for me, the reason why one of that this song in particular was kind of a standout song for me was the story that came along with it. Like the album The Maven, the first song, the introduction, where you talk about the two kind of rappers that God created, and one of them, he had all this kind of flow delivery. He had everything, but then he didn't have. I think it was integrity or dignity or something. There was something missing from that rapper, and he started to use his words for bad. And it just the whole story behind that was, please, if you're watching this right now, go and listen to KRINO's albums. They are, I think, most of them are on YouTube, right, KRINO?
Yeah, the most of them are there. They're starting to come after me now, so they've been taking a lot of my stuff down.
Oh,
I got
really?
I just got banned from YouTube again today. As a matter of fact, for I think
Wow.
I'm banned for 90 days. But I just came off of a suspension from a week ago because they're starting to attack a lot of my content. Because I speak a lot of anti-establishment
Mm,
uh, lyrics.
yep.
And when the truth comes, man, it's like throwing a rock into a pack of dogs. The dog that gets hit is the one that's gonna yell out. So
Yeah.
the songs that I do have remaining, yeah, y'all can go out because I got a million songs. So there's still plenty of stuff on there that you can check out on YouTube, preferably on my channel, the real KRINO, for however long I have the channel. But yeah, the war is real because
Mm,
when you're trying to, there's a war for the minds and souls of the people, and you have people that are seeking to um, feed the minds of the people, nourishing elements that will help make them better, the things we've been talking about in this interview. But then you have other forces that are trying to poison the people, poison them mentally, poison them physically, poison them spiritually. And those
Facts.
are the individuals and the entities that don't want to hear the type of stuff that I have to say on
Mm,
certain songs. So when you take a song like Annihilation, the Evil Machine, that's what it's about.
mm,
The Evil Machine is about an establishment. It's about an entity that's been developed that's basically the ruling class of the world, but they're mishandling and misusing the power.
mm,
And we living in a time where God is at war with those forces, and the people of God are at war with those forces, and the showdown is just right around the corner. But anybody with intelligence knows who's going to be victorious in the showdown. So my job is to continue to make music that speaks the truth and that speaks the truth to the so-called powers, regardless of the consequences.
I'm speechless, man. I mean, it's I could talk to you for days, honestly. I'm not just saying this because we record. I could talk to you for days and ask you so many different questions because I find you so interesting and I feel that we've got so much in common just from your music and the way you look at life, and the experiences I've had in life have kind of really resonate with what you're saying and the way that you look at things. Which again, for me, Annihilation of the Evil Machine is a powerful song. So guys, if you haven't already heard that, please go check it out. Also, what I'm gonna do, the link in the description of this video, I'm gonna drop KRINO's channel. Please go and subscribe to him as well. Go show him some love and support. And also underneath that, I'm going to give you a link to his website. Okay, so on this website, it's got all your music, with albums. And is there any merchandise on there? I know that your music's on there, but is there links to like merchandise? I'm assuming is on your YouTube channel.
Possibly. I don't remember. It may be. It may be. If
Well, I'm
not, I get this stuff to you though.
I'm going to put all the links in the description there as well. So please go and show KRINO some love and support there as well. Okay, so um, you've your first song was made. You released your first single in '87. So if my maths is correct, you've been making music for 34 years, which is that's incredible. I love the old school hip hop. In the late '80s, when they started introducing it into like big American movies and things like that. When I first started listening, I was born in '94, so when I coming up as a kid, I just love and if correct me if I'm wrong, hip hop comes from breakdancing, right?
Well,
Can that early era of hip hop?
breakdancing is one of the elements of hip hop.
Yeah, yeah,
Hip hop started in the '70s in New York, but it was breakdancing, it was DJing, it was rapping, it was graffiti art. So breaking is one of the elements of hip hop. It all goes together. Rap music is a different thing. It's a different component. So yeah.
because when I think of hip hop and when I first started, listening to the early stuff, it straight away I think about breakdancing and graffiti and that kind of era. And I find it very interesting how music evolves as well. Like jazz and things like that. How blues evolved. Blues evolved from two different genres, as far as I know. And our other music, like I don't know if you've probably heard of drill music. How drill music evolved and rap and grime came from garage and garage music. And so for me, music's very interesting because how it evolves, it never stays the same. It's always changing. You know, do you have any kind of inspirations with regards to music itself? I mean, you mentioned KRS-One, you mentioned some artists. Is there anyone that you kind of go back and listen to, or is there any artist that you kind of listen to now as well as your go-to source for music?
Absolutely, yeah. And to your point, everything is connected.
Mm,
Everything is connected. If you look at hip hop, um, rap music was birthed through the DJs playing records from old disco songs and old R&B tracks or whatever that they could mix in. And those were things that we ended up sampling later on and using in our music. And we just put different elements in it and formed this thing called rap music.
Yeah.
But it is the child, it's the offspring of genres that came before it because there was no foundation to go off of when it first started. Now we're at a point now where music has evolved to where people can sit down in front of the keyboard and create specific sounds that are for rap music exclusively. But in the beginning, they were using what had come before them. So, and like I said earlier, I do that now when I'm trying to get motivated or get inspired to be creative.
Mm.
I may listen to some rap, but it's real rare.
Mm.
The things I listen to are gonna be music that predates rap music. Like say, I'm gonna go listen to an album by Stevie Wonder called "Songs in the Key of Life."
Yeah.
Probably the greatest album ever made. I listen to stuff like that. I'm gonna go listen to Sly and the Family Stone. You know, I'm gonna go listen to War. You know, just different artists that will be motivated. I'm listening to the freaking Bee Gees. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just stuff that's gonna you're gonna extract the creative elements from it. It's not that we're doing exactly what they did. It's just you listen to it and you go, man, that was dope.
Mm.
How original and creative they were when they put that together, and it motivates you and pushes you to say, let me try to draw from the pool of creativity
Mm.
in my world to create something that will have the same effect on people that listen to it after I do it.
That makes it, as you were saying that right there, it led me to the film that they did on Ice Cube and Run DMC, and the way that the world viewed hip hop and rap music at one point, where FBI was coming in and closing down shows, stopping them making music, and arresting them for certain things that they said in their music, which was freedom of speech at that point. And it really kind of inspired me in a way because it showed that the power of the people, that if you really persist with a certain idea, a certain positive kind of focus and an approach, then you can get change, and we saw things change. I mean, there's rap parties now all over the world talking about whatever they want, and they ain't getting arrested. They don't get me wrong, like with drill music at the moment in UK, a lot of the music's being taken down. But what they're trying to do with drill music is the labels are talking to the police, and they are trying to change the idea that surrounds drill music, where the police are saying, "Oh, it's promoting violence, it's promoting this, that, and the other," like they did with rap music, and they're trying to change the face of that right now, which I find is interesting. It's like history repeating itself, So from you making music, which interests me, from the '80s to now, you must see a massive change in music, right? With regards to how it's
Absolutely.
viewed.
Yeah, some things change, but some things remain the same. Like
Mm,
the era you was talking about when the heavy censorship movement was going on, and there were groups like Two Live Crew, there were groups like NWA, groups like the Ghetto Boys, Public
mm,
Enemy, groups that were going through that war of trying to have the freedom to express themselves and say whatever it is they wanted to say on the record. The only thing was that the fight was fought brilliantly
mm,
by those people. It was fought brilliantly, but at the end of the day, um, we have to start thinking about total and complete ownership of
yeah.
what we do and what we have. Because at the end of the day, even if we make certain advancements and certain strides, it still is an appeal to that system. It's still an appeal we're making to those establishments that own, like you say, the record companies. Like you say, they were trying to speak to the police out there. It's always a situation where we got to try to go to somebody else
Mm,
to get permission,
yeah.
and that's an issue. That's a problem
Mm,
when we own totally own everything, and we don't. You know, none of us do. We totally own everything, including the platforms and the digital platforms and all that. Then nobody can come along and say, well, you can't say this and you can't do that. You
Mm,
know, of course, we have to be accountable for the content that we release. It shouldn't be a situation where we say, well, you know what, we should just be able to put out the worst, most denigrating and terrible material in the world that will bring people down a negative road. It's not to say that we still have to have accountability,
mm,
but for everything else, we have to be in a position where nobody can tell us, where label can't tell you what songs to make and not make, where a company can't say, well, you know what, we don't like what you do, so we're gonna pull everything off our platforms. You know, if we have freedom and ownership to do what we do, then we don't worry about that. And that's where we got to get to. We're not at that point yet. That's why it comes off like we always we got to go, not necessarily use the word beg, but we have to always petition to somebody else
mm.
for permission. We got to petition for permission to put our stuff out.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, if you've got something that's, freedom of speech should never be taken away, whether it's music, whether it's a certain opinion. If it's not, it's usually only going to be challenged if it's going to challenge a certain structure and a certain way of looking at things. Like he ain't gonna they ain't gonna post about conscious rap in the mainstream media, for example. We know that, and a lot of audience know that. So only certain amount of music what they accept is only going to be played. What's marketable, what sells to, let's say, the mass population, which I find really interesting because it's getting better now. It's getting better, but I don't think we'll ever be there. I think the power of the people is, for now, I think it's stronger than ever. With regards to like social media and internet, and you can see certain things changing within music and worldwide as well, which interests me. Um,
Well,
so
we have to get to a point where we stop becoming slaves to certain dollar amounts.
mm,
Certain amounts of money tends to distort our principles in some cases, not everybody, but a lot of the control that they have over artists is based around the fact that they're paying them all this money, or they're putting them on levels and platforms and stages
mm,
that are so big that the artist is not willing to trade that
mm,
for the sake of their integrity. They're like, hey man, I can't lose this. And a lifestyle has been adopted by those artists that they now have to maintain.
yeah,
So they kind of fold under the pressures of these big wigs that tell them, hey, watch this, don't do that, say this, don't say that. When in reality, that shouldn't be the measurement. It should be about the principles of what I'm saying is right or not. That's what it should be based around. Am I telling the truth? Am I speaking facts?
mm,
You know, am I striking a chord with my people to let them know, hey man, this is what's going on. This is what they doing to us. This is what they got planned for us. If you have that information, then you have an obligation to pass that on to the world. Otherwise, you wasting your art. You wasting your art.
did you ever get approached by labels?
Yeah, absolutely. My younger days, when I was less threatening as I am now, we always would send our music to record labels to try to get signed.
Yeah.
I'm young. I didn't know the monster that we were trying to jump into bed with at the time. You know, we were trying to do what we saw all of our heroes in music doing, trying to get on that level.
Mm,
But yeah, I was definitely I had drawn interest from many labels in my younger days. But as I kind of grew up and got into my early 20s, when I started rapping about Farrakhan, when I started rapping about the Nation of Islam, and I started talking about uplift the upliftment of black people and poor people and the injustices that were going on here in America, then they were no longer interested simply because they were connected,
Mm.
and their success had always been connected to those very powers that I was speaking against. So
Yeah.
it would have been a conflict of interest for a label to sign somebody that was speaking out against some of their own practices.
Mm.
So once I kind of understood that, I wore it as a badge, and I still wear it as a badge. I wear it as a badge now. YouTube um, uh, banning me and doing the things that they're doing right now, I wear it as a badge. I'm not speaking that or expressing that as a complaint. I'm speaking that as a badge because I've always known, I've been taught at an early age that, when those folks come out against you, that means you're doing something right.
Yeah.
They try to silence you, that means you need to start talking more. So
Yeah.
when that part hit me, I was like, okay, all right, I'm doing a little something, something now. It took them a while. It took them a while to for me to get on their radar, but they'll learn.
I love that. I love that. I love that kind of the perseverance, and it's evident. It's like what I like about your music is all the answers, all the things that you're telling me right now in the interview is it's like I've heard it in your music already. It's like, and that's what I love about this is the interview is it, what your music, what you talk about in your music, what you feel, is the things that you want to express is your personality, and that's what I love about your music. And I feel very strongly and very similarly the same way that you do with regards to music as well. And there's a UK artist that came out and did a documentary. His name's Potter Paper, rap artist, really talented. Talks about his own life experiences and things, and he's trying to, from my experience in certain songs, my perception, sorry, he's trying to say to the younger generation, you don't need to do this and this and what I did. And he got approached by labels when he came out of jail, and they offered him 30% here and 30% there. And he said, I've worked my whole life for this. This is all mine. And he decided to stay independent. And there is a lot more artists now that are going independent. The beauty of that is they get to control what they say and dress how they want. And um, there's many big artists that are independent as well. And I think that for me, and I mean, again, I'm not a rap artist who's been making music for years, or so I don't know how labels work. I only know certain parts, you know. But I would recommend to any new artist or artist that's looking to get signed is to look into the terms and conditions of the contracts that are being signed by the labels. I spoke to an African artist, an African rapper. Um, Her name is Ecstatic. She makes really, really good music, and she was signed to Sony. And she told me that it they were telling her to do things that she didn't want to do, and she was unhappy. So she came out of that, and she's now an independent artist again, making music. So um, it seems to be the same message portrayed, and you tend to see sometimes that celebrities cry out in their music and say things in their music that speak about the labels and the powers that be. When we talk about selling the soul to the devil, for me, what that means is they are selling themselves as a person to a particular amount of money or contract. And as soon as they sign that contract, it seems that they can't no longer, as you've just said, be themselves in their music and talk about the things that they want. And it's like they've been swayed one way. I heard one thing about labels where they give you this one. There was this one. I think it was a documentary, and it spoke about the artist gets $1 million up front, but then they've got to work for that $1 million. So it's like a loan, and if they don't earn so much from certain amount of labels, then it's like a repo. So I don't know if that's the truth is per se with
Yeah, that's
every
the truth.
label, but
I mean, it's about that's called recouping. You know, the
yeah.
labels they they front you so much money, they front you so much resources.
Mm,
They'll pay for this, pay for your video, pay for this, pay for your studio, whatever, whatever, and they will front you those resources, but you're being charged for that all the while. The whole time you're being charged, and those expenses are accumulating to where when your royalty check comes in, then it may not be what you expected to be the amount simply because they've now begin the process of extracting out all the bread that they gave you. So it's a ages and ages old game that's been going on, and but also to speak on what you're saying with the young lady, um, there's also the lure of showing you where you can be, where they'll tell you can be. So that gets you into the door. You walk in based on that, but once you get inside, it's like being in a scary movie where you walk inside and you think it's cool until as soon as you walk inside the house, you hear the door slam real loud behind you, like boom, and then like you run and you can't get out because you didn't know what was going on before you walked in. And it looked good. The house looked beautiful on the outside, but when you got inside, you saw how corrupt and how dirty the house really was. So they'll try to get females to exploit themselves or do things that they're not comfortable with, and the males too.
yeah.
See, it's not just the
Yeah.
females being exploited sexually by these companies and all that. They're doing it to the males too.
Mm,
They're feminizing the males. They're over um, exploiting the females through sexual
mm,
visuals and things of
yeah.
that nature. So it's just a dirty house. So to get out of it and go independent is always the best route. You know, people say, well, man, that's hard. It's hard. Yeah, it is hard, but anything that's worth having should be hard. But also, it's not harder than having to deal with all of the evils and the negativity that you're going to have to deal with and the soul selling that you're going to have to deal with
Mm.
while working with these record labels and these companies.
Would you say that's the same experience for every artist, or would you say that there's some good labels out there? Would you say that they're all bad? Not all bad, but they all have the same kind of movement.
Well, I'll say this. It's like a person. It's like dealing with a person in your personal life. An individual can only do or will only do what you allow them to do to you.
Mm,
So if you want to take the label route, if you want to take the label route, then you have to arm yourself with the knowledge to know how to come into your negotiation process. In
yeah.
other words, if you sign the contract and the contract consists of things that will eventually work against you somewhere in the future, then you sign the contract out of either ignorance or you sign that contract just out of just I don't care. I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to make it. I'm trying to make it. And then you disregarded those things early on only to regret it later. So you have to come in if you want to play that game. You got to arm yourself and you got to know that, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be the winner with these labels. These companies are going to always win
Mm,
over the artists, but you try to make the best possible deal for yourself. You have your attorney, you have your people in place that can interpret the words in the contract and make you know exactly what it means today and tomorrow, what it's going to mean for you. So if you want to play that game, you got to arm yourself to the best of your ability, but also know that even in doing that, you're not going to be the winner.
do you have any advice for any artist who's just starting out? So, he or she's probably made a name for themselves, a little name. Like they're known in where they go, and the mates are messaging and saying, "Oh, your
Yeah,
music's really good."
the message to them is use what you have built and established to prosper and grow from that. Now, the general concept is, okay, well, I've built this underground following for myself. This label's gonna come in and they're gonna take me through the roof. They're gonna take me to the next level. But the fact of the matter is, man, you've already established a core audience, the most organic and sustaining audiences and fan bases are those that were built from the ground up through an underground independent grind, because they are the authentic ones who came on just because you were you. If you on a big label, you're gonna have people that kind of cling on to you because of that exposure that you've gotten, because of that single that they got playing for you all over the world. But they are not the ones who will necessarily be there forever and ever, because if you slip off, if you slack off, and the next project is not as popping as the first one in their eyes, those people are going to fade away, but that core is going to still be there. So my advice to an audience who've already established themselves is that keep building on what you've established for yourself. Don't relinquish that over to some company unless unless you do it on your terms. Like I was saying in negotiation, if you say, well, you know what, I got I got 50, 60,000 people buy my record every time I come out just on my own. I really don't need you. I don't need you, but I'm gonna listen to what you want to try to offer me. And then if it doesn't sound right, I will counter that and say, you know what, nah, this is what I want. These are the terms. Because when you're doing all right independently, it's not always about a label giving you money. You're not really tripping on money. You're more so focused on the resources, on the other things that they can do to propel you up a little higher or to get you in more elevated positions. So if you come in and negotiate those things and say, you know what, I want this, I want that. No, you can't lock me in for 5, 10 years. You're not locking. This is the deal. I would do a partner deal with you, and we'll do this like this. But at this particular time, I have the freedom and the right to move on. You don't have me handcuffed, none of that. If you come in negotiating from a point of strength based on the leverage you have from what you already built for yourself, then you don't have any fear, and you can take or leave whatever it is they offer you. You can take or leave because they need you. You don't need them. And that's the thing a lot of these artists got to understand. You don't need the record label. The record label needs you if you've already established yourself as a viable artist.
Going back to what you said there about the negotiating, there was an artist. This isn't to do with music, but it's to do with kind of structures with regards to television programs. Big Nasty, he's a massive name in the UK. He came up through grime music. He's been doing it for many years. He got offered by the BBC, which is a British broadcasting communications program in England. He got offered his own show. Sorry, ITV show. He got offered his own show, and they offered him £8,000 per episode. Everyone around him was saying, "Oh, take it, take it, take it." This is going to be a great way to promote your music and promote grime and rap. And he went to his lawyer, and his lawyer said, "Go back to them and say what's the budget." And they came back to him and said, "We'll pay you 10 grand an episode." The only question he asked was, "What's the budget?" And he kept asking them. He never mentioned how much he was getting paid, but it was going up 20, 30, 40. It was going up from what he was saying and what he was saying about the counter offer, And I think, like I say, I've never known what the industry's like, the music industry, but I'm assuming certain things go on there as well where they undersell, or should I say, um, overwork an artist and not pay them or give them the kind of earnings just because they feel that they can, and that's the beauty of being independent, isn't it? It's all yours in a way.
But that's the beauty of it is that he was in a position of strength.
Mm.
If they had just reached out to him based on his raw talent and raw potential, but he had never established himself prior to them discovering him, then
Mm.
he might have been in a situation where he would have had to just take what they offered him.
Yeah.
Or the original offer may have been way lower than what their first original offer
Mm.
was. But the fact that they understood that he didn't need them,
Yeah.
see, they wanted him,
Mm.
he didn't need them. So he was able to talk with some bass in his voice and say, "Nah, okay, now what's up?" Then they're steady saying, "Well, I'll give you 10, I'll give you 20." Because again, their communication and their language is money. Just keep throwing money at them, keep throwing money at them. But
Mm.
there are so many other elements that are valuable, that are involved, that are not monetary,
Yeah.
that they are focusing on. Like, and then they'll eventually become monetary, like just the mechanical licenses and rights to your name, rights to the title of the brand, of the show. All of these different things are perpetual means of income, things that they have ownership over. But if they catch a smart one, then
Mm.
he's gonna fight to have control over everything that he built. And the money is, you can't just dangle the money in front of him and hypnotize him like you could somebody who may be a little um, more desperate. But
Mm.
there has been documented situations of artists who came in with nothing,
Mm.
and they still stood their ground and didn't let these labels just rape them like that, because they were true to their work and they took pride in their work. There are a lot of artists that's like, I know I ain't nobody, but you're not gonna be able to just take me like that. So
Yeah.
it's all about the individual integrity that an artist has, because you got people that's already worth millions that'll still sell a soul for some more
Mm.
millions.
Mm.
So it's about self-respect and dignity and integrity in this game, and only a handful of people have that.
100%. I agree. It's about what you're about, isn't it? And I think it's really sad as well that they take advantage of the fact that some artists might be desperate. For example, maybe there's a lot of young artists in the UK right now that are 15, 16 getting signed at that age, such a young age. And like you say, you don't know what they might not know what the kind of future holds. All they hear is money, fame, great. I'm gonna get known as an artist, and that is quite. It's quite interesting to me how some artists, even from that age, will say no. I'm not going to sign with a label. I'm just going to keep doing my own thing, and I've got 30, 40,000 followers, and it's growing, and it's enough, and I love that. Um, One of the next questions I've got is, I think it's going to be quite interesting. So, if you could pick one artist that you could collab with, so it could be from who's still making music now, it could be from the 70s, 80s, now any era at all, whether they've passed away, whether they're still here. If there's one artist that you could collab with on a couple of songs, could you pick one? Could you pick one artist that you'd like to collab with that you've
It'll be
not
hard to
done?
pick one. I need about three.
Yeah,
But Stevie Wonder definitely, Prince
yeah,
definitely, and those two
yeah,
definitely. That third one is in the air, but you just want to work with people who are creative, who are serious about their craft, who are
mm,
practically geniuses in what they do, and whatever comes out of it, whatever creation is born from it,
yeah,
is going to be great. You
yeah,
can make a song where and nobody likes it,
mm,
but because of the people who put it together and
yeah,
what they had going on in their mind, it don't matter. It's like, this is greatness. So those would be the two that stand out.
With all your music, I find this interesting. So, with writing music, do you have so if I said to you, said this song from this album, would you be able to recite it verse for verse? That interests me. Are you able to remember your lyrics?
Nah, not at all. I'm the worst. I'm the worst of all time when it comes to that, man. Because I got so many albums, I got so
Yeah,
many songs, and I've said this many times. I'm a person who doesn't really listen to my own music that much,
right.
and some of the stuff that I do have is very detailed and very complex.
Mm,
So if I'm not listening to that every day, then it's a great chance that I'm not gonna have that committed to memory. I don't have a photographic memory like that.
mhm,
So nah, I have. I would say I probably only know the words to maybe 10% of my total songs. Now, if it's a song I'm getting ready to try to incorporate into my concerts, since I'm getting ready to start doing this song live,
mm,
I may take the time to learn it, and just relearn it. But as far as just knowing it soon as I do it and having thousands of songs committed to memory,
yeah.
I wish, but nah.
I think it'd be literally impossible. It'd be literally impossible. But me and I've got a couple of friends who I introduced your music to many years ago, and one of our favorite songs that you've done is "Grand Deception." Do you remember any lyrics from that? Because if you could even recite 3 or 4 bars from that and rap just a little bit of that song, when this interview's done, if I showed this to my friend, he would go crazy because that song, he loves that song. He loves the Grand Deception. If you can
Yeah,
remember a few bars.
it's a lot going on in Grand Deception. So that's one of the ones. You may know certain lines. I know certain little lines, but I couldn't sit down and just spit it like that. But I have heard it a lot because when it first hit YouTube,
Yeah.
um, it really took off because
Mm,
it hit YouTube at a time where there wasn't many songs like that even circulating on the internet, period. There wasn't many songs like that in creation. There
yeah.
probably was a handful, but not many. So that to this day is my most viewed song. But nah, people request for me to do that song at shows all the time. They'll do Grand Deception. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to do Grand Deception at
Yeah.
a concert, a rap concert. It's not the kind of song. You want to hear it, then you go listen to it. But you know, um, one day I may just sit down and learn it, and then if I'm in the right
Yeah.
setting, because to be honest with you, there are certain crowds
Mm,
that are into that, just that type of rap,
mm.
to where you could perform it. But if I'm at just a regular rap concert, they want to hear you going off. They don't want to really hear you spitting Grand Deception.
Could you rap some lyrics for me from Obstacles or any of my any songs? Could you spit a
I
little bit for
I
us?
I don't I I can't remember the first bars of obstacles. I can remember the hook. We overcoming obstacles and letting blessings in. That's all I know. But you
Yeah.
know, I, I don't really listen to a lot of my own stuff, man. But uh sometimes people will start me off and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I got it. But I think what happens with me, man, to be honest with you, is some of these songs I write, man, it's
Mm,
almost like an out of body experience
yeah.
because, you know, I view myself as just a regular dude, just a regular guy, just navigating through life. But when I listen to certain songs that I did, I'm like, man, I was, and not trying to be not bragging, but just like, man, I was on another mental level. My
Yeah.
mind was somewhere else
Yeah.
when I created that. So it's like I went up here to do that. And once I got it out, I came back down
Yeah.
to where I am now. So if I go a while without listening to it and I hear it, I'm like, man, that's crazy. I even said that. So it's more of an out of body experience, man, than just some of the
Yeah.
songs that I've done, because I'm just a regular dude. So I give God the credit on that, because I feel like sometimes He just deposits stuff in us, some certain things that we didn't even study,
Mm,
certain things that we were never even taught. He just sprinkles it on us,
mm.
and then we take it in, it processes, and it comes back out through us in a very profound or complex or intelligent way, or a way that's very impactful, and we can't even explain how we did it.
That's just brought me to thinking about a certain comedian who was really close with Michael Jackson. I forget his name, but he was really close. He was good friends with Michael Jackson. He talks about God, and he says for him, his perception is if religion helps you, then that's great, but God's kind of within us. You know, we already know right from wrong, and so when you're talking about the sprinkling of, yeah, I could really relate to that, and
Yeah, you probably talking about Chris Tucker, but yeah, I mean, we're born with the things we need
mm,
to make it through this life. Now, do we need guidance? Of course. We don't, even though we have, see, it's like purchasing something that comes with an instruction book. So you bought this thing, and you look at the instruction book. You can read the instruction book, or you may look at what you purchased and feel like, oh, I can put this together without the instruction book. But at some point, you might hit a roadblock while I'm trying to put this together, and you'll go back and read part. Let me see what I don't gotta do right here. You read the instructions and try to figure it out. So, and even in reading the instructions, sometimes the instructions may be a little complex. You may not understand what it's saying in the instructions. So
mm,
you have to go to a higher level to understand and get that interpreted for you. So that's how we are as people. Yeah, we're born with everything we need,
yeah,
but we can't walk around like, yeah, man, I'm the master of my own situation and I can fix, because if it was that simple, a lot of us wouldn't be in the condition that we're in. A lot of us wouldn't be mentally messed up. A lot of us wouldn't be financially messed up. If we had all the answers, or were able to um, process it and solve the formulas just like that, we wouldn't be living the way we live. So that is a place for a higher power to guide us,
mm.
and He guides us through other people. That's a place for for us to get through and navigate through.
I love that. I love that. It's so true. It really is so true. And sometimes you can have conversations with people, and you're like, I think I've said something to help someone, or and I come back away from it. I think, where did that come from? I didn't even know I had that in me. So I can really relate to what you said.
And we might have heard something just in passing that went into our memory, and it just sat there, and we had it subconsciously nestled in our memory, and then at the right time we said it, and we never knew where it came from. So it the wisdom, it comes from all different ways and different angles, and whether it's through a course of study, whether it's through life experience, whether it's through revelation, or whether it's just through people giving you game as you go through life, so one thing about the human mind in its ability to intake information is an infinite thing.
Mm,
There's no limitation, there's no maximum capacity that our minds have to ingest information. It's just certain things that may get buried, there's certain things that we may not be able to recall in certain situations, but anything you hear, it goes in there.
mm,
It goes in there.
mm. It's when you start to learn about the subconscious mind, it's such a yeah, it's a very interesting thing to how the conscious is very limited, but the subconscious is somewhat unlimited in regards to memory and things that can pop out. And yes, it's a very the mind is a very powerful thing, and yeah, we could see that in your lyrics. You know, it's there. And you know, thank you so much for doing this. I'm going to be watching this interview back. I'm going to be watching this interview back personally. If you could shout out one person for me, he would love it. His name's Jordan Fletcher. If you could shout him out, that'd make his year, honestly, because he loves you, man.
Oh man, definitely want to shout out to the homie Jordan Fletcher, man. It's your big brother KRINO. Appreciate all the love and support, man. No doubt.
He's gonna love that. When he sees that, he's gonna die inside with excitement. But listen, thank you so much for being here, Kavino, and keep making your music. And I'm going to be plugged in. You know, I'm subscribed to your channel. I'm going to be listening to all your music. But thank you so much for being here. Is there anything else that you want to say before we go? Before we end the
Yeah, no
interview?
doubt, no doubt. Make sure that y'all support the music. Go get. I got. I think I got 50 plus albums. Go get them off all of the digital platforms, or you can order physical copies from my website, southparkcoalition.net. Of course, I dropped 2 books. It's my first book, Life Lessons and Lyrics. You can get that off southparkcoalition.net. And my second book, Behind These Bars, where I explain a lot of my lyrics, a lot of my concepts, and how I write, and all of the breakdowns of certain songs. You can order those off of southparkcoalition.net. So everybody do that right now.
I didn't know that you had books. I need to order
Yeah,
them. I need to
yeah,
order them
no doubt.
personally. So,
No.
guys, I'm going to drop the website in the comments when I post this video right now. I'm going to put www.south, was it southparkcoalition.net?
Southparkcoalition.net. Yes, sir.
Cool. We're going to post that. We're going to post Kavino's channel underneath this video. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Take it easy. Stay safe. Be well. And I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.
Peace.